Welcome to our weekly Forex Forecast, and this is for trading for the week of March 18th to 22nd, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we dive into it. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a very risky business, so please be careful with your money, and you never want to invest anything you cannot afford to lose. So that is very important to understand. All right, so now let's dive into our analysis here. All right, last week here, first of all, very, very volatile week. We saw Brexit votes, 3 Brexit votes, and at the end, so there were 3 scenarios. One was that UK would leave Brexit with the terms that Theresa May had agreed upon with the EU. That got voted down, did not work. Another one was if they would just leave without any kind of deal in place, and that was voted down as well. The third one here that got voted on was to extend the Brexit deadline. So currently the Brexit deadline is March 29th of this month. So next week, is it? Yes, next week. So not next week, I mean the following week. So 2 weeks from now here. And the parliament has voted to actually not hold a referendum. That was another thing, not hold a referendum, but actually push the Brexit date back so that there is more time to come to an agreement with EU. So there are better terms for separation. So that's what was going on this week here and or last week. So we saw that British pound was very volatile. It went up, went down, and as the votes came out as well. And US dollar was not very strong. So that's what happened there. Now, with the Brexit vote here, even though UK has voted to actually delay Brexit, it's not a done deal yet because EU has to agree to it, and it has to be a unanimous vote by all the 27 nations saying that they are okay with that. So that's so expect to hear more from EU side now. To see what comes of that. If they cannot reach an agreement before March 29th, then there will be hard Brexit, regardless of what got voted on, because the negotiations have to be, or the agreement, I should say, has to be from both sides. So currently we have UK who wants to extend Brexit, and EU has to vote on it. Now, Merkel has said that they're going to support it. But again, like I said, all the 27 countries have to support it in order for it to be delayed. So expect more volatility in the next couple of weeks as we hear more rumors and comments. So it's very important to pay attention to your news feeds so you stay on top of these comments that may come out. And so that's that. Volatility basically is what I'm trying to say for British pound there. In terms of a regularly scheduled news here, we have some numbers here for New Zealand and Australia here on Monday. So nothing, trade balance here actually, even though this is a yellow number, it is an important number. And if there's a big miss, that will be negative here for Euro. But other than that, we have consumer sentiment numbers for New Zealand. That will be important. And then we have Reserve Bank of Australia, Assistant Governor Kent speaking. And then we have monetary policy meeting minutes. And this is where I think Australian dollar could take a bit of a hit. It was a couple of weeks ago, we saw that Reserve Bank of Australia was actually dovish on the outlook for Australia, economic outlook. And they were concerned about what was going on in terms of trade wars and whatnot. So as a result of that, we had seen Australian dollar drop. And then JP Morgan came and said that they are expecting 2 interest rate cuts from Reserve Bank of Australia. So all of that is, from a fundamentals perspective, is negative for Australian dollar. So now that the whole Brexit stuff is kind of out of the way, the votes are out of the way now, we may see markets realigning to their own currency strength or the lack thereof. So Australian dollar here could take a hit. So keep an eye on that. But in terms of monetary policy meeting minutes here, they have already had, RBA governor has already done the speech. They've already sort of talked about the monetary policy. So the meeting minutes in themselves may not have as much of an impact. But because last week, things were sort of up in the air, liquidity was low in the market, so everything went up against the US dollar. So now things may realign. So this could be negative for Australian dollar. Okay, so that's Aussie. Next, we have employment data here for British pound. This number, or these numbers here, are similar to our non-farm payroll numbers for the US. So keep this in mind, which means this could have an impact on the market. They're maybe not as volatile, but still, these are important numbers. So one of the important numbers here is average earnings index. So if we get positive data for these employment numbers, but the average earnings are going down, that can still have a negative impact. So keep your eye out for that. But this is important. And actually, we do have another vote here for Brexit here. And am I looking at the right one? I am looking at the right one. Okay. So we have another Brexit vote. So be careful here. Any of these things do have an impact on the market here. And then we have monetary policy meeting minutes for Japan here. Last week, they didn't really do anything. Bank of Japan has been talking a lot about maybe expanding their monetary policy and stuff like that, but they haven't actually done anything yet. And they have just been trying to verbally influence the market because they're concerned about Japanese yen going up. And but last week we did not see much of an impact from this. So this statement, meeting minutes, may not have as big an impact because last week Bank of Japan did not have big impact here. CPI numbers here, very, very important. Here we have for UK. And these numbers tend to be positive for UK. Last few numbers have been positive. So if we have a good positive number here above expectations, then that would definitely be good for the British pound. But if this number drops here, so this is why the numbers are critical today, mixed in with our Brexit vote, numbers will be very important. So if average earnings are good and our CPI numbers are good, it will be good for British pound. But on the flip side, if we start to see numbers drop, it could trigger market reaction and that fear could come back into the market. So just be aware of that. And of course, this Wednesday, big FOMC meeting here. Right now, they're not expected to cut or raise rates. It's expected to stay the same. Now, the big thing here will be the forward guidance from the Fed. So Fed has really changed their commentary around their view of the market. So before last year, they were quite bullish on it. Now they are changing that. And if they start talking about any kind of expansionary monetary policy, that will really be negative for the US dollar. So we have to pay attention to this statement, because if they start becoming too dovish on it, that could just drive this whole negative movement towards the US dollar. So very important to pay attention to this on Wednesday here. And we have GDP numbers for New Zealand, again, a very important number. Employment numbers here for Australia. So these are important here as well. And then we have a couple more central banks here. So could be a volatile week. We have Swiss National Bank, monetary policy assessment, not expected to change their interest rates at the moment, but at this point, it's the commentary that will be very important, because as we have heard from a few different central banks, Fed has been dovish now. Well, the Fed has expressed concern about the world economy and economic forecast for the US. Reserve Bank of Australia did the same thing. Bank of Canada did the same thing. So now we could start seeing ECB did the same thing. We could start seeing this sort of shift in the central banks from going from bullish to being a little bit more on the dovish side now. And that, of course, impact the currencies in a negative way. So watch out for that. And then we have retail sales. So a lot of data coming out for British pound this week here. And we have EU Economic Summit. So this is very important here because, again, it's all the comments that would come out because everybody would be talking about Brexit. They would be asking questions about Brexit, and the sentiment can really drive the markets here. So watch out for any comments. Pay attention to your news feed to stay on top of those. And then, of course, Bank of England here. We have monetary policy statement, not expected to change rates here, not expected to change anything, in fact. But again, commentary will be important. Last time we heard that the Bank of England wasn't too concerned, but should they change that stance, that could be negative. All right, so that's into Thursday. Friday, we have PMI numbers out of the Eurozone. We have inflation number for Canada, very important number. Should this start to go down, then the Bank of Canada will certainly be concerned. So we have to be careful of this one. And then, of course, PMI numbers here for the US as well. So tons of data coming out this week. So like I said, make sure you keep an eye on your calendar as well as newsfeed to see how the data will drive our markets, because it does. All right, so now let's go on to our charts here. As usual, we'll start off with our euro here. So what we have been seeing with the euro is we have seen this drop in the euro here, and price is still sort of back into that range here. It has been in this range for quite some time. If you take a look at it, it's been in this range since October of last year, and it's still in the range. It did try to do a break here, but then went back into the range here. So now we are testing that downtrend line, but we do have a bullish candle close here. So bias would be bullish for this week for the euro dollar, but be mindful of this downtrend line, because what could happen is price could just push up and then drop from there. So we have to pay attention to that. So something like this, or we could see price go higher into this previous level here and then drop from there. So just be mindful of that. But for now, just because of the bullish candle close here, bias will be bullish. First target here will be 1.1420 level. If it goes through that, we could expect it to go towards the high of the range at 1.1520 or 1.1550 level. So basically looking for a move back into the range here, higher towards the top of the range. So bullish bias here for euro dollar. Pound dollar here. Pound has had interesting moves here, big push, all kinds of back and forth moves we saw with Brexit here. But the candle close here is bullish here. And as we see, price is testing the high of this or the support resistance level in this area here. It is a very bullish candle close, but look what happened last time we had this sentiment move to the upside. Price went up and then pulled back. So be mindful of these pullbacks because last week price got driven with Brexit vote, and this week again we could have that scenario. Plus we have a ton of data coming out with British pound, so do expect volatility for the pound. But bias is bullish right now, and here as well we have a uptrend line, more of an uptrend line rather than downtrend line here. So it could very well go back up again. So bias is bullish, looking for perhaps a pullback into 1.3200 level and then a further move up here. So bias is bullish for pound, and this is the move I would look for. Having said that though, be careful of this type of thing, because that can happen price can come back here as well, just like it did this one, because it just filled that inefficient move to the upside. It was a sentiment-driven move, and sentiment-driven moves tend to go back as well. Yeah, not the best week to be involved in British pound at the moment. There's too much going on right now, and we do not really want to get caught in that. So personally, I would just stay away from it. There are lots of other crosses to trade. Aussie here, Aussie has also given us a bullish candle here, but with Aussie, we have a bit of a downtrend here. As we can see, we had this big drop, pullback, and now price has sort of been stuck in this. This one is kind of like stuck in a range here for a bit as well. If you take a look at it, this is the range that price has been trading for a while. Now it's showing signs of coming down here. So bias is bullish just because of bullish candle close here, but it may not have too much momentum. We could just get something like this, and then we could see a drop. So let me get rid of some of the lines here so we can talk about it. Overall, though, fundamentally, my bias for Aussie is to the downside. I'm not too bullish on Aussie. Personally, I think in the longer term here, this year, Aussie is likely to drop. So this is what I'm looking at, this type of a move. So 0.7140 is the first target here. Now, should price get through that level, it could go higher, and then we are looking at 7,200. So first target, 0.7140. Second target, 0.7200. So bullish bias for now, but overall, I'm looking for price to actually drop. So for now, bias is bullish for Aussie dollar. Okay, so let's take a look at our New Zealand dollar here. New Zealand dollar has been trading in a range here as well. As we can see, price has been back and forth for several weeks now, hasn't really found a great direction at the moment. Our weekly candle close is bullish and looking for price to go back higher here. So looking for it to move towards the top of the range. 0.6900 is the first target. And then we have 0.6980 as the second target. So bullish bias here for New Zealand dollar as well. But I think overall, New Zealand dollar, I would not expect it to be overly bullish either. I think both Aussie and New Zealand dollar are likely to drop this year. But for now, this is range bound, and we have to see where it goes. It may not quite be ready yet. So right now, looking for bullish bias, 0.6900. This is the first target here. And then looking for it to go test the high. And that would then be the deciding factor to see where it goes. For now, bullish. Dollar CAD here. Dollar CAD has had an interesting move here. We saw a couple weeks of up move here. Now we are back. So this one here is bearish, but it's not quite bearish engulfing candle. So at this point, we cannot say that this uptrend has changed, but it is bearish. So what I would look for here would be to see if price does, and we have Canadian dollar data here this week as well. So this is kind of what I would look for here. And, or it could go the other way as well. It could do one of these, right? But overall, as we can see, price is still overall bullish bias here. So sometimes what happens is price will go test and go higher. So in this case, the deciding factor will be the bottom of this candle. Can the price break below 1.3280 level and stay there? If it does, then we are looking for price to kind of come back into this range that it has been for the last few weeks here, then I would look for price to drop. But let's say price goes and tests the low here and cannot hold below. In that case, we are looking for price to basically do this, right? So for now, I would say biases to the downside. Watch out for 1.30 to 80 level. If it holds above, then we are going higher. Then the first target will be the high of the candle, and then looking for it to go higher after that. But should it break through this one, then I would aim for this one. 1.3100 will become the target. So this one we have to wait and watch where it wants to go. Yeah, it could like do one of these, go do a double top and then drop for sure. So we just have to go and see we have to take a look at where it wants to be. Let me move the oil out of the way. We'll talk about it in a bit. Dollar CAD. Okay, Euro Pound. Euro Pound has been interesting back and forth here, but overall it has closed bearish here, kind of maintaining that trend line here. So for this one, bias is bearish here, but should pound start turning around, we could see this one go up as well. But I think it could do one of these. So pulls into the low of those candles, not the low of the candles, sorry, the body of the candles there, and then come back down, or it could go slightly higher to hit the trend line and then drop here as well. So if pound reverses directions, this one is likely to do this as well. Yeah, Greg, it is a scary pair because it's sort of crazy. As we've seen, this was just chop. And so we're looking at a daily chart right now. So it finally dropped through this range that it was in. And now it's kind of holding below the range. And we have a pin bar on the daily. So this one could drop here. But because we have these inefficient candles here, it could go back towards the high of this range here as well, and then go further. So with everything that's going on with the pound, that's the main driver behind this one here. Euro Swiss franc here, we are looking at the daily chart here. So on the daily, as we can see, price has been stuck in this range for quite some time. So from the daily perspective, we had talked about in our on our daily analysis call how price was, we were looking for price to kind of come back down here. So it's been holding below this, so looking for it to drop 1.1300. Now let's take a look at the weekly here. As we can see, it's just stuck there. So what I would look for here would be looking for price to come back into the bottom of the range here. If it does not break, then I'm looking for it to go towards the high of the range and basically be stuck in the range. So right now, my bias for this one is range bound till we see some sort of momentum to the upside or downside. For now, looking for it to stay range bound. So looking for it to come towards the bottom of the range, which is 1.1300. And then if it doesn't break, looking for it to go back towards the high of the range, which is 1.1380. So trading in a very narrow range here for several weeks now. Pound Swiss franc here. This one has been kind of crazy here as well with everything going on in the British pound here. But overall, we have a bullish bias here. As we can see, price was holding above here. And this is what I was talking about in dollar CAD. See how price went up, pulled back, didn't quite break it, and then went higher. So let's go back to dollar CAD here. See how price went up, and this one could get stuck here. So this is what I was talking about. It could just get stuck here, and it could go higher. So very important to see, will it break the support resistance or not? If it breaks it, then chances are very high that it will come down here. But if it doesn't, then the move can be similar to what we are seeing in pound Swiss franc here. So price was bullish, dropped, didn't quite break the support, and then has gone up higher. So now we have a bullish bias here. So next target would be higher. But same thing applies to all pound crosses. See how we had a sentiment move here and then it dropped. So we could see a drop back here towards 1.3060 just because British pound right now is very volatile, and I expect more volatility this week here. Basically towards till the end of March, we are looking at volatility in British pound. And what happens is the closer we get to a big event, the higher the volatility becomes. And then liquidity dries up. As a result of that, the moves become even more exaggerated. So this is where I would be very careful if you're trading any kind of pound crosses. Just be mindful of the volatility. So yeah, trade accordingly. But here, basically what I'm looking for is to see if the price would do this. So that would be the first thing I would be looking for. Bit of a pullback, or maybe a pullback into this candle here. So we could get pullback like that and then a further move up. So that's my base case scenario. However, should all the pound crosses start pulling back, I would look for this to pull back into this 1.3060 range and then go higher from that. So right now, bias is bullish for pound Swiss franc. Dollar Swiss franc not doing so well. US dollar has been weak. It was weak this week here. So bias is to the downside here, looking for price to pull back a bit into 1.0055 and then continue the move further down. First target is 0.9970. And then beyond that, looking for a drop into 0.9920 level. So bias is bearish for dollar Swiss franc. Yen here, pound yen has been sticking up. So here we have a bullish bias here, but we are again into this. See how we had a bullish bias here, but then price turned. We are again at that level. So here we need to see again how the pound does. If just like this one, price fills those moves, inefficient moves that we've been seeing, then it could drop here. But if you take a look at the hourly chart here, it has been kind of holding above this level. And if it stays above this level, chances are it could go further up because this is holding, which means it's maintaining a bullish bias. For it to really actually start to fill things up, it would have to come back like this. And then, only then, can we expect a bearish move here. So if it's holding above 147.40, chances are it's going to go higher. In that case, I would look for a break, pull back, and a further move to the upside. So for this one, bias is bullish, but unless we start seeing a sell-off in British pound because of comments from EU or something like that, which could certainly cause it to drop. So let's say we hear comments from European countries saying, oh, we do not want to sign the Brexit agreement like for extension, then that becomes a problem, right? So that means that there will be more concerns, there will be more uncertainty with Brexit. So now the ball is going to get passed to European Union, and their comments become more important than the comments out of UK. So watch out for that. But because any dissenting comments could have a negative impact on British pound here, just because it would raise concerns about Brexit, and people may get concerned about hard Brexit, because if they cannot reach an agreement by March 29th, we have a hard Brexit, whether regardless of how things get voted in. So that's the big thing, and hence it's very important to watch out for those comments. So for now, for this one, bias is bullish. But like I said, should it drop below 147.40, then we could see it come back towards a 144.40-ish level, or let's say 144.50 level here. So bias for now is bullish for pound yen. Euro yen here, similar thing. Bias is bullish, but like I said, should things change here, this one could get pushed down here as well. But So we're kind of in this range still for the last 3 weeks. So bullish bias here, I would say 127.50 will be the target, which is the top of this little range it's been trading in. If it breaks through the top here, only then would I look for the next target at 129.20. But for now, looking for price to go into the high there and perhaps do one of these. So that's what I'm looking for. But if it breaks out, then we have to look for a hold here above 127.50, and only then can we look for this move to the upside. So watch out for that. Signs of weakness, I think there will be, just overall there will be, there's going to be more volatility in pound as well. So yeah. Yen, dollar yen here, dollar yen still being bullish here. We have, actually we don't need this one. Okay. So dollar yen is bullish. See how it's holding above 111.40. If it keeps doing that, then we have another bullish buy, another bullish move. But from the weekly perspective here, it hasn't really done much in the last 3 weeks. So today we have a bullish candle close, but there is pin on the top here. So first case scenario here will be looking for price to go higher into 112.14-ish level and see if it will come back down from there. So we could get a bit more of a range bound move here for dollar yen as well. So for now, bias is bullish. 112.14 or 20 level will be the target here. Should it break through that, then it opens up room to go higher. But until then, I would consider that more range bound, and I'm just looking for price to go higher there. Aussie yen has also been bullish here just because all the yen crosses have been bullish. Basically, everything has been bullish here. US dollar did not do too well last week. And as a result of that, we have seen positive moves everywhere else. Okay, so this is a range bound here for last several weeks. So that's why I'm not too bullish on this. Bias is bullish though, only looking for price to go into the high of the range here and then looking for a turnaround here. So 79.80 here will be the target to the upside, but see how many times it did not break. So I am looking for price to come back into the range, but should something change in larger, let's say overall Bank of Japan makes a negative statement or US-China reach an agreement, all those things can be positive for across the board for all the yen crosses. In that case, I would look for a break and a further move up, but it has to hold above this 79.80-ish level for it to continue lower. Otherwise, looking for this to come back into the range. So bullish bias towards the high of the range and then move back into the range. New Zealand yen here, this has also been range bound here for the last little while, as we can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks here, it's been trading in this range. It is at the high of the range, and we do have a nice solid bullish candle close, which means it could break out. And if it does, then we are looking for next move higher. But based on the weekly candle close here, bias is bullish, and this is the type of move I'm looking for. So bullish bias here for New Zealand yen. Last one here, CAD yen. CAD yen is looking bullish here, but not overly bullish. It is, again, kind of stuck in this range. So with this one, I would look for a move towards the high of 84.00. If it gets through that, then looking for it to go higher into this 85.00 level. But this one looks more like a reversal setup than anything else here. So price goes up, comes back, pulls back, drop. So we could see something like this. So watch out for that. But for now, in the short term, bias is bullish into 84.00 or into 85.0. If it gets through this one here, this is an important level. If it gets through, then we can look for the next one. But if it doesn't, then it could just reverse back and come towards 82.20 level, which is back into the bottom of this range here that it's been stuck for a while as well. So slightly bullish bias here. Okay, so let's see if we, what did I do with my oil? Just give me a moment. We'll look at commodities now. Just need to find my oil chart, which was here before I moved it. Okay, I seem to have lost it. I'll have to look for it, but for now, let's go with gold. Gold here hasn't really done a whole lot. We had this bullish pin bar last week. Now we have an indecision candle here. So, so this one, not the best sort of candle setup. This could just be a pullback for a drop. So we'll have to wait and see. We have an indecision candle, small candle body, and pins on both sides. Very, very indecision type of candle here. So this is what I would look for. Pull back, move back towards the high. If it breaks, if it holds below, then I will look for a continuation to the downside. So when we have a big candle like this, it's natural to have a pullback. So it could just be a pullback for a continuation move to the downside. However, we have, because it's an indecision candle, it could go in either direction. So I would look for a retest of the high. If it stays below, then we're looking for a further drop here. And this is when it could really go lower here. But if it breaks the high, then we are back into our previous levels once again, which means we're going to be looking towards the high here. So right now, we are just going to wait and see for the retest to the high. And if it goes through first target 1333, and then we're looking into 1350. Otherwise, we're looking towards 1250. So there's quite a bit of room. All right, so next one here, copper. Copper hasn't really done a whole lot. As we saw, price went into the high of this candle here. Overall bias still seems a little bit to the downside here. So I would look for a move back towards 2.84, which is the top of the range here. So backside of this range. And if it holds above, then we are looking for a further move higher. But if it doesn't, because the candle here is looking weak, so we could go all the way into 2.78 here. So bias is bearish for copper. Here is oil. Let me just bring it back. And we need silver as well. Okay. For oil here, we have moved up here, and let's go into the daily here. See how price has been, it broke through here to the above the range, and now it's doing a back test of the range. So last couple of days hasn't really done much. It's just been neutral here, as we can see. So what I would expect here would be for price to retest this level. If it holds above, then looking for price to go higher. And if oil is bullish, then generally our Canadian dollar will be bullish, which means dollar CAD could drop. Sorry, excuse me, I have this lingering cough here. Okay. Next target is 60.11 here. So right now, bias is bullish. Second target, we could see it go higher even, 61.50. So bullish bias for oil. Silver here. Let's take a look at the weekly. Weekly looks neutral to bearish here. Overall bias is bearish. This could be a retest or a pullback, sorry, for a further move to the downside here. Sorry, excuse me. Okay. My apologies there for all that coughing. Okay, so this is the pullback. We could see a further drop here, just like we talked about in gold. So just like gold here, this is also a neutral candle close. We have indecision candle, 2 pins, small candle body, indecision candle. So I am seeing this as a pullback for a further drop, but because it's an indecision candle, we cannot take action before we actually see something set up. So should it break through the high again, it could go all the way up. But if it holds below the high at 15.5747 here, then I would look for a further move towards the downside. So this is my base case scenario, looking for it to do this. Now, if it breaks above, then that will change, and then we are turning bullish on that. So at this point, we have to wait and see, and bias is neutral for now. Bitcoin has been hugging that resistance level for a while. Now, this is not the latest chart here for Bitcoin, just because it does trade on the weekend and my brokers don't here. So right now, it looks like it's trying to go higher. So if it, and I've been looking for it to break this resistance for a few days now, it hasn't done that. So we have to wait for the break here. 3880. If it holds above 3880, then we're going higher towards 4031 and potentially towards 4100. But has to break it. It's just hugging it for now, but looks like it's putting pressure on the resistance, which means it could break. So watch out for that. And it's looking bullish for now. And let's go into see what our equities are doing here. Equities looking bullish, pressuring the resistance here. And as we can see, it's trying to break out, or it has broken out slightly. Now we need to see if it will hold above, but looking bullish here. And next target here will be 2875 level. So bullish bias here for our S&P 500. Nikkei here also looking bullish, but we have this big drop here. So I will look for price to go and test the high of this candle. 21856 is the level I'm looking for. And if it breaks through there, then it could go all the way over there, all the way to the next candle, which is 22722. Okay, lots of twos there. So bullish bias for now, but this will be an important level to watch. As we can see, it's an important support or resistance where price has reacted multiple times. But if it stays below this 21856, then I will look for a further drop. NASDAQ here also looking bullish. We have had a big move to the upside here, which means bias is bullish. We are into resistance here though. So keep that in mind, because last time it did come down a little bit, but it is bullish, looking bullish, and next move will be higher. So we need to see a break above 73.45 and then a further move higher into 7,700. So bullish bias for NASDAQ. DAX also looking bullish here, and next move I will look for it to be higher. So this is where we are. Again, we are into resistance here, but looking bullish for now. And next target is 11877. FTSE also looking bullish. So if the indices are bullish and they continue to be bullish this week, that means the yen crosses are likely to be bullish as well. So just remember that. So this one here, we are into the top of the range, but this is a range bound one for now, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For the last 6 weeks here, we have been in this range. So for this to continue higher, we do need to see a break here above 72.65 level, and only then would we look for a move higher, because this is the type of thing we need. So it has to hold above here, above this level for a continuation to the upside, because otherwise with a range bound move, this is what we would expect. All right, so that's all for today. Any questions here before we wrap it up? Okay, no questions. So let's call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will be back again next week. Bye for now.